soup sounds appealing, by all means dive in. A retriever can be a real asset during low-tide rail hunts, but even the strongest lab or chessie will struggle in the thick muck, especially if you are a good shot and the dog has to make 25 retrieves. That's a lot of fetching. There was a time when I thought mucking it in waders was the man's way to go for low-tide rails, and I suppose it was considering that I had the Connecticut flats to myself and had already started my 50-year streak of no-miss rail shooting. However, I was never that good at calling the tides, and as one might expect, one day a buddy and I found ourselves not only stranded with a high tide coming in, but our waders were stuck in muck above the waist. Thanks to a high degree of youthful panic, we managed to shed our boots and crawl through the mud to high ground. But the only reason we survived was that another group of skiff hunters happened to be in the area, saw our predicament and came to the rescue. This was back in the early 1970s. There are 2 pairs of chest waders still flapping in the Connecticut River current near Essex in case anyone wants to go after them. On the bright side, we did kill our limits of rails that day. Legally, rails may be hunted out of any craft that is not underway via gasoline or electric motor. Of late, hunters have found a way to bend the rules by roaring through the tidal flats at full speed, killing the motor when birds start to flush and then shooting as many as they can as they follow their wake into the flats. This kind of behavior, although perhaps technically legal, is considered unsporting at least and gauche at best. The true traditionalist walks the flats or pushes a small craft through the flooded reeds and takes his birds in the most sporting, gentlemanly manner possible. Although there are several species of rails, only 4 are legal game. These include the clapper, soarer, Virginia, and king rails. The soarer and clapper are most abundant and may be found from Maine to Texas, but also occur occasionally along the Pacific coast, where rail hunting is not allowed. The eastern and southern coastlines and their related flyways contain the most rails and provide the best hunting. Many of the smaller species are sparrow-sized and are of little interest to hunters. These smaller birds flit in and out of the reeds near ground level, rarely showing themselves. Hunters should have no trouble discerning between them and the legal species. For those who crave such things, it is possible to achieve a grand slam of rail hunting, all 4 species in one season, by pole boating the high tide, roughly from Merrymeeting Bay in Maine to the Carolinas. Additionally, rails might also be encountered in the Gulf of Mexico from Florida to Texas. Perhaps one could achieve an Atlantic slam as well as a Gulf slam. I'll leave that up to those who pursue such heady accomplishments. Although federal guidelines allow rail hunting from mid-September through November, the best hunting occurs only a few hours during a few days each month when tides are astronomically high, giving the birds little or no solid ground on which to run. Poling through sparse reed cover at high tide for hairy little birds you cannot see that fly only as a last resort is definitely a singular experience any avid shotgunner should have on his bucket list. Once you've mastered the fine art of rail shooting, perhaps I can interest you in a traditional New England snipe hunt. Reprinted with permission from The Incredible Edible Rail by Stephen D. Carpenteri, 2020. The Upland Almanac, Spring 2020 by Stephen D. Carpenteri.